All right, so we have finished discussing the 14th verse, and now let us look at the 15th verse. So we'll just chant it out. Dṛg-Dṛśya-Vivekam
Dṛg-Dṛśya-Viveka
You need to chant. You can just repeat it, okay? Dṛg-Dṛśya-Vivekam Prahischa Brahma Sargayoho Avarnotya Parashaktihi Samsarasya Karanam. Okay. So you need to be able to chant. Unless you chant, how will you ever know the words? So make an effort. Even if there's a mistake, make an effort. Okay, just don't keep quiet. All right. So he's saying that he's basically discussing that I am the Jagat. And I am the Jagat. So if you look at me separately, then I, as well as the Jagat, I am a mixture of Sat plus Nama Rupa Mithya. So Sat is the Adhishthanam, the substratum. So I'm actually the substratum, and there's mixed with it is the Nama Rupa, which is the Mithya. So since I am already the Adhishthanam, I am already. The problem is that I don't have any Viveka. I don't have this discrimination between the difference, about the difference between the Satyam and the Mithya. And he's saying here, who is responsible for this? He says, Apara Shakti. Other power of Maya. Now, why is he saying other power of Maya? Because in the earlier verses, we discussed Vikshepa Shakti. Now he's talking about the other power, which is Avarana Shakti. And what does it do? Avarnoti. So second line, if you see, Avarnotya Parashakti. So Aparashakti Avarnoti. This other power of Maya, Avarna Shakti, what does it do? Avarnoti. It covers. Avaranam is a covering. Because it covers, what does it cover? It covers the distinction between Satyam and Mithya. To see the difference between Satyam and Mithya, and I look at it as one thing only. And therefore he says Sa. Sa is the covering over here. Saha, that covering which has been put into place by Maya, samsarasya karana, becomes the cause of samsara. So he's saying that within this body, there are differences. Antaha is within body, Bhedam is a difference. So Antaha, Bhedam Asti. There is a difference within the body. And what are the differences? There are two principles. Chaitanya, the Sakshi Chaitanya, or the seer as it is called. And in terms of this particular text, who is the seer? Sakshi is the Dṛg. And we are talking about the third seer and the second Dṛśya. So Sakshi is the seer, the Dṛg. And Dṛśya is who? When Sakshi is the Dṛg, who is the Dṛśya? Dṛśyam.
Mind.
You need to be able to recall what you studied. Otherwise, what's the point of the class?
Senses?
Sorry?
Senses?
No. What are the, just try to recall the different pairs. We talk Dṛg-Dṛśya. So, what is the first pair? Who is seer number 1?
Eyes. Chakshu.
Eyes and intellect.
So, what does it mean?
Eyes.
I mean, it's more external what the seer sees. So, Sakshi of the external world, and
Yeah,
the
but
seer is your
you are always
sensory.
talking about a pair, the seer and the seen. So, what is the first seer?
Seer are the eyes or your sense
Eyes.
organs.
Which means Jnanendriyas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jnanendriya, sense
Jnanendriyas,
organs.
and they see what? They see the world.
The
The
world,
first
Jagat.
set is Jnanendriyas and world.
Eyes.
Then you take one step back, then the Jnanendriyas become the seen,
Seen.
and what becomes the seer?
Mind.
Sakshi.
Mind becomes the seer.
Oh, yeah.
And you take one step further back, what becomes the seen and what becomes the seer?
Intellect.
Mind becomes the
In,
same.
Mind
Buddhi,
becomes,
Manas.
intellect becomes.
So,
I think it's mind and Sakshi.
Oh,
yes. So the mind is the
Mind
Dṛśyam,
and
and the Sakshi is the Dṛg. So these things you need to remember, otherwise you will not follow the argument at all. So he's saying that there is a seer over here, which is a Sakshi, and there is a Dṛśyam, which is the mind. And what happens? Avarna Shakti covers up the Sakshi. So the mind alone is seen, the Sakshi is not seen at all. And therefore, Dṛg-Dṛśyayo Sakshi Antakaranayoho Vedam Avarnoti. This, the Maya, the difference between the Sakshi and the mind is been covered, and you see only the mind that is inside the body. And similarly, Bahishya, what is Bahihi?
Outside.
Sorry? What is Bahi?
It's outside.
Outside. So outside the body, Bahi is Brahma Sargayoho. Brahma is Brahman, Sarga is the creation. And therefore, Bahi teacher, Bahishya means Cha Bahi, and externally also, there is a similar pair which is Brahman and the universe. And Bhedam Avaranoti, that you have to supply over here. Again, so Brahma Sargayoho, between Brahman and the universe, there is a difference, but that difference is again covered up by Avarna Shakti. So you see only the Sargayoho, you see only the universe. And you... Okay, so try to analyze what we have done. What are the differences between Karanam and Karyam? So we can think of three differences straight away. One is Karanam is substance. Karanam is the Vastu, and Karyam, the product, exists only in name and form. There is no Vastu called Karyam. Karanam is always the Vastu, and Karyam exists only in Nama Rupa. Secondly, Karanam exists across all time frames. It is eternal. While Karyam comes and Karyam goes, product comes and product goes. So clay is there always, but the pot comes and the pot goes. So Karanam exists in all time frames. Karyam is Anityam. And thirdly and most importantly, Karanam is Satyam and Karyam is Mithya. Hence it says Saha Samsarasya Karanam. Saha Avarnoti. That particular Avarna Shakti, it covers up the differences. Okay, now I'll unmute you and we'll chant the next verse. verse number 16. Sakshinaha purato bhati
साक्षिणः पुरतो भाति
lingam dehena sanyutam
लिङ्गं देहेन संयुतं
chitichha
इति चिच्छाया
chitichhaya samaveta
तितिक्षाया समवेता
vasyad vyavaharikaha
वस्याद् व्यावहारिकः
Okay. So here the author Vidyaranya is talking about two mistakes that we all make. And he talked earlier about Antaha and Baha. So here again he's saying mistakes are also two. One is at the internal level and one is at the external level. So what is the first mistake? The first mistake I commit because of Avarna Shakti, as discussed in the previous verse. Because of that Avarna Shakti, I do not know that I am the Sakshi. Since I don't know that I am the Sakshi, there is an error in my thinking that I am finite and therefore I need support. So this is the first mistake. I need support. Now this mistake is internal because it is the locus is me. I need the support. So the locus is me itself. The mistake is centered on myself. That's the first mistake. I think I need support, whereas I really don't, but I think I need. That is a mistake. So it's a subjective mistake. And the second mistake is to think that this support which I think I will need, I will get from the external world. This is the second mistake. So to think that I will get this required all the time, which itself is temporary, that's another mistake. And that's an objective mistake centered on the world. And because of these two mistakes, Sakshinaha Purataha. I am the Sakshi, but Purataha is in front of me. So I am the Sakshi, and in front of me is what? Lingam Bhati. Lingam is the Sukshma Shariram. Another name for Sukshma Shariram is Linga Shariram. So Sakshinaha Purataha, in front of the Sakshi Chaitanyam, Lingam Bhati. The Sukshma Shariram appears like an object. Right? So I am Sakshi and in front of me is the mind. And Sukshma Shariram here is being taken as mind for simplicity's sake. Of course, we all know from Tattva Bodha class that it consists of 19 different aspects. But here we are taking simply as the mind, whole mind as such. So Sukshma Shariram. And it appears in front of the Sakshi. And what type of mind is this? Dehena Sanyutam. This mind is associated with the Deham. Here Deham is Pura Shariram. So in front of Shariram is associated with Sthula Shariram, while I am the Sakshi. And what is the nature of this pair, this dual entity which is mind plus Sthula Shariram, Sukshma Shariram plus Sthula Shariram? What is the nature of this pair? It is ever insecure, right? Because it is subject to Desha, space, and Kala, time, and Prarabdha also. So there are limitations on the mind as well as the Sthula Shariram of space, time, and Prarabdha. Hence, emotions will change. The small change in the chemicals of the body, depression will set in. And therefore, this body-mind complex is never free. It can never be free and he calls it Vyavaharika, Jiva, the Ahankara. So Vyavaharika is the relational being, Jiva.
Hello?
Yeah, I think we lost him.
Okay. Now we can.
Yeah, sorry, there was a power outage for some time. Okay, so we were talking about the fact that this Vyavaharika Jiva is never free because he is words, he says Chitti Chaya Samaveshat. So Chit is the Sakshi, Chaya is the reflection, and therefore Chitti Chaya means reflected consciousness. Chit is original consciousness, Chaya means reflection or Pratibimba as it is called. So Chit is the Bimba, Chaya is the Pratibimba. And therefore Chitti Chaya is reflected consciousness. Samaveshat. Samaveshat means enters. And therefore he says, in my presence, the reflected consciousness enters the body-mind complex. So it's a very picturesque way of of that consciousness enters the body-mind complex and activates it. So another way of understanding is, because of the presence of the Sakshi, the body-mind complex is the mirror and the reflected consciousness is mirrored, is reflected. So this RC reflecting from the body-mind complex is the activation of the body-mind complex. It is as if the body-mind complex has got life, has got consciousness. And this activated ahankara is the samsari. He has no freedom. So he says, Jiva Syad, Jiva Vyavarika Syad. He is a Vyavarika. The ahankara is called the Vyavaharika Jiva. He belongs to a different order of reality, a transactional order of reality. He does not belong to the absolute order, which in Sanskrit we call Paramarthika Satyam. And here the Jiva is Vyavaharika Satyam. All transactions take place in this order of reality. So as long as you are identified with that body-mind complex, you are assuming all the limitations of that body-mind complex, and therefore you can never be free. As the Jiva, your mind necessarily has to go through Avasthatrayam. And if you go through Avasthatrayam, Trayam, you will find that there are many thoughts which bother you, which you do not want to have at all. But that is the nature of the body-mind complex, because that is how the complex is designed, to have thoughts. Because to interact in this world, you need to be able to appreciate the changing nature of the world. And to appreciate the changing nature of the world, you have changing thoughts. Each thought reflects a change in the world before you. And unless you are able to appreciate that changing nature, you will not be able to transact. That is what he means when he says that is the nature. Jiva Vyavaharika Syat. That is the very nature of the complex. Necessarily, the thoughts have to be changing always. So while that necessity is itself, that same changing nature of thoughts, it is the cause of all your problems in this world. Okay, so with this, I will leave it open for any questions.
Sir.
Is it? Yeah,
So in the end, did you say that this nature, which is the ever changing thoughts, is the cause of the problem?
yes.
And it's also required because to be in the Vyavarika reality of for the jiva, one because
Because the world is constantly changing.
yeah, so it's required, and at the same time, that's the reason for the problem.
Just sort of visualize that you're driving on the road. Right? You are driving, there are different cars coming, there are children running across the road, there's a bike, there's a motorcycle, there's a red light, there's a green light. To appreciate all these changing parts of reality, your thoughts have to keep changing. Because if you had only one thought when you left your house and that thought didn't change at all, then you are not seeing anything, that means. And on the road you will have an accident.
Yes, sir. What's interesting is that that's also the problem.
In this world, you have to appreciate the changing world and make you fit to deal with it. At the same time, those changing thoughts are the cause of your problems also.
Because they keep us busy and tied into the Vyavaharika aspect and too busy to realize Paramatma.
Not the changeless thing.
Yes, sir.
And therefore, thoughts are constantly changing, and you are conditioned to seeing only that. While the changeless Atma is very boring, it requires special effort to be able to see it. A special effort is what we call Shastra.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, anybody else?
Can I speak if it's okay?
Yeah, I can hear.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, if you could please once again explain the Chitta Chaya Vyavaharika, wherein the reflected consciousness is reflected through the body-mind complex, that part. When you said that the consciousness enters.
Yeah, so a good example to use is the original sunlight and different mirrors which are on the ground. So if you are not looking up, you can still see the sunlight in the mirror, and that is a reflected sunlight. It is not the original one.
Right.
And so that whatever the original sunlight can do, in the sense of heating up the place or lighting up the place, the mirror also does. Not the mirror, the reflected sunlight does.
Right.
And so he is calling this samaveshat. That original sunlight has entered the mirror and as if activated it like.
Okay.
So here this original consciousness is being reflected off this mirror, which is the body-mind complex. And because of the reflection, we say the body-mind complex is life, as life.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Raviji, according to Vedanta, shall we transcend the mind through dhyana and samadhi? Is there correlation between Raja Yoga and Vedanta?
No, there's no correlation at all. Raja Yoga is a completely different, stream of philosophy. When you say transcend the mind in Vedanta, we simply mean appreciate that I am not the mind. In that sense, you transcend. But in Samadhi, becoming inactive. So you cannot reconcile those two philosophies. And from the point of view of Vedanta, Samadhi is nothing but a state of extreme concentration. So we will not accept that Samadhi has any spiritual benefit.
Thank you.
So maybe because it's a temporary phase.
Time before you can get onto this, because yoga philosophy somehow presents Samadhi as a mystic state, and Vedanta has no place in it for mysticism.
Yes, thank you, Raviji. We don't hear you now.
Yeah, you have to still fight.
Hello.
So the connection is really bad right now.
Yes, we can't hear you.
Can you
Yes,
hear
yes.
me?
Yes,
Yeah,
now.
Anybody else? Other questions?
Om sir, I had a small question. The second mistake when you mentioned that the support that I need, I will get from outside world. Does that push you to see that the support that you need? I mean, of course, this is also a mistake that you need a support. Is to be derived from inside world? Hello?
I can't hear that question clearly, Shweta.
Yeah. Okay. Again.
Yeah.
So my question was, I felt that when you said the second mistake which we are doing is that the support that we need is from the outside world. Of course, that is also a support that I don't need a support. I am Sakshi and I don't need any support. But does that push you, like does Vedanta is pushing you that the support, whatever is needed, if I don't consider the first mistake, then the support which is needed is taken from the inside?
No, if you don't consider the first mistake, you don't need any support, because Sakshi does not need support. Sakshi is complete in itself. It's Purnatvam. The problem is because you make the first mistake. If you didn't make the first mistake, that thing is not. That is why the Jnani does not need support, because Jnani knows that he is complete. So what does he need support for? He doesn't need. That is the implication.
Okay, that's why he's talking about. That's why they are talking about Vyavaharik Jiva, because of the body-mind complex, we complicate things and we feel that we need societal support and we need other people's support. Is that physical, or this is related to very?
Need support, and therefore, and since the body is not capable of giving you too much support, neither the body nor the mind, like other people, other events, other things, from name, from fame, from money, all these are your supporting factors only. And therefore you begin. That is what is being said. If at the first mistake you don't make, or you having made it, you understand it's a mistake and correct it, and now you say I don't need support, then the rest of the things become irrelevant. For you, life is a game after that.
Om sir, I have a question.
Yes.
When you say support, do you mean only physical support or every kind of support?
Mostly emotional.
Right. Okay.
Physical support the body cannot avoid. You need
Right.
food, you need
Right.
rest, you need clothing.
Okay. So mainly emotional support. So we don't need emotional support basically.
You don't. You are complete. Why do you need emotional
Right.
support?
Right. True.
And yet,
Om Acharya, we were talking about the. Can you hear me, Acharya?
yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So these two are different philosophies, right? Like Raj Yoga and the Vedanta. So is it like they have two different ways to reach the same goal, or
No,
are they two
only one way. No. See, Raja, every different school of thought will say that this is the only way, but they don't tell you why. So we are explaining to you why. The Vedanta says that the problem is that you think you are incomplete, and that knowledge. And incorrect knowledge can be corrected only with correct knowledge. There is no amount of karma that you can do that can change that.
Okay.
So
So
from the
is
Vedanta
it
point of view, all other disciplines are only bringing you up to Chitta Shuddhi. Jnanam alone is there anymore.
okay? So we don't need to follow that the 8 steps to actually get that concentration.
So
The
the 8
level
steps
of
are Vedanta accepts those 8 steps as being masterpieces of sadhana.
okay.
Sadhana is absolutely necessary before you come to knowledge. The jnanam will not work on you unless your mind is quiet. So for Chitta Shuddhi, Ashtanga Yoga is absolutely necessary.
So the Jnana Yoga starts when you reach that the Ashtanga Yoga completely, then it works
Yes.
well.
Then Jnana Yoga works on one. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Acharya.
Okay. So thank you guys. We'll call it a day. Oh.
Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Vashishyate Purnamevavahamiti Shanti
Tat Namah Shivaya.
Om Tat Sat.
Shivaya. Thank you, Acharya.
Thank you,
Thank you very much.
Acharya.